Open quotes, a Psalm of David. Lord, I call upon you, hasten to me. Give ear to my voice when I call to you. Let my prayer be counted as incense before you, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth, keep watch over the door of my lips. Do not let my heart incline to any evil, to busy myself with wicked deeds in company with men who work iniquity, and let me not eat of their delicacies. Let a righteous man strike me, it is a kindness, let him rebuke me, it is oil for my head, let my head not refuse it. Yet my prayer is continually against their evil deeds. When their judges are thrown over the cliff, then they shall hear my words, for they are pleasant. As when one plows and breaks up the earth, so shall our bones be scattered at the mouth of Sheol. But my eyes are toward you, O God, my Lord, in you I seek refuge, leave me not defenseless. Keep me from the trap that they have laid for me and from the snares of evildoers. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I pass by safely. Close quotes. Introduction. Psalm 141 is a heartfelt and earnest prayer by David, expressing his desire for spiritual protection and vigilance in a world filled with moral complexities and temptations. As a king and a psalmist, David faced many adversities, both from external enemies and internal struggles. This psalm encapsulates his cry for help and guidance, as he seeks to remain faithful to God amid challenges that threaten to lead him astray. In our contemporary context, the themes of this psalm resonate deeply. We, too, are confronted with numerous distractions, influences, and temptations that can derail our spiritual journey. This reflection will explore the essential components of Psalm 141, focusing on the need for divine protection, the significance of vigilant prayer, and the importance of maintaining our integrity in an often hostile world. The urgency of prayer, verses 1-2, David begins the psalm with a sense of urgency. Lord, I call upon you, hasten to me. This opening line establishes the tone of desperation and earnestness. David is not passively waiting for God's assistance, he is actively seeking it. The phrase, hasten to me, conveys a deep awareness of his need for immediate help, reflecting the intensity of his situation. In verse 2, he continues, give ear to my voice when I call to you. Here, David acknowledges God's omnipresence and his ability to hear our prayers. The assurance that God listens is foundational to our faith. It encourages us to bring our struggles, fears, and hopes before him. Prayer is not a mere formality, it is a lifeline that connects us to our Creator. The next line, let my prayer be counted as incense before you, introduces a rich metaphor. Incense symbolizes purity, devotion, and worship. In the ancient temple, the burning of incense was a vital part of the sacrificial system, representing the prayers of the people rising to God. David desires his prayers to be as pleasing and acceptable as incense, reflecting his sincere devotion. The act of lifting up his hands as an evening sacrifice signifies an offering of his life and intentions to God. Just as sacrifices were made to atone for sin, David presents his requests and struggles, seeking God's grace and favor. This imagery invites us to consider our approach to prayer. Are our prayers sincere and offered with a heart of worship? Guarding our words, verse 3, in verse 3, David makes a specific and poignant request, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth, keep watch over the door of my lips. The mouth is a powerful tool, capable of both great good and significant harm. Words can uplift, encourage, and heal, but they can also wound, destroy, and deceive. Recognizing this duality, David implores God for help in controlling his speech. The metaphor of a guard over his mouth indicates a desire for divine intervention in his communication. It acknowledges human frailty and the tendency to speak impulsively or harmfully. In a world filled with misinformation, gossip, and slander, this plea for vigilance is particularly relevant. Our words have the power to shape perceptions, influence decisions, and impact relationships. David's request highlights the importance of self-control and mindfulness in our speech. It calls us to reflect on the words we use daily. Are they words that reflect the love and truth of God, or do they sometimes succumb to negativity and judgment? This verse serves as a reminder that seeking God's help in our communication is crucial for maintaining our integrity and character. Resisting temptation, verse 4, continuing with a plea for spiritual vigilance, David states, "Do not let my heart incline to any evil, to busy myself with wicked deeds in company with men who work iniquity." Here, David is acutely aware of the dangers posed by evil influences and the potential for his heart to be drawn away from righteousness. The heart, in biblical literature, represents the core of our being, our thoughts, desires, and intentions. David recognizes that allowing his heart to incline toward evil is a slippery slope that can lead to moral compromise. This understanding is essential for spiritual vigilance. We must be conscious of the subtle ways in which our hearts can be swayed by the world around us. David's mention of busy myself with wicked deeds indicates the active engagement that comes with succumbing to temptation. The company we keep can significantly influence our behavior and beliefs. Surrounding ourselves with those who engage in wrongdoing can gradually desensitize us to the seriousness of sin. David's plea serves as a reminder to evaluate our associations and the environments we expose ourselves to. As we navigate our lives, it is crucial to remain vigilant against the allure of sin. We must intentionally cultivate a heart that seeks after God and His righteousness. This requires self-awareness, discernment, and a commitment to pursuing relationships that edify and encourage our faith. Embracing correction, verse 5. In verse 5, David presents an intriguing perspective on correction. "Let a righteous man strike me. It is a kindness. Let him rebuke me. It is oil for my head. Let my head not refuse it." This verse may initially seem counterintuitive. Why would David welcome a strike or a rebuke? David recognizes the value of accountability and the role of righteous correction in spiritual growth. A strike from a righteous person is not intended to harm but to redirect and guide. It reflects a deep commitment to personal growth and a desire to remain aligned with God's will. Embracing correction requires humility and a willingness to learn from our mistakes. The imagery of oil for the head conveys a sense of blessing and anointing. Oil was used in biblical times for various purposes, including healing, anointing, and refreshing. By inviting correction, David acknowledges that such experiences can lead to spiritual renewal and greater intimacy with God. Just as oil enhances the fragrance of a person, so too can correction enhance our walk with God when approached with the right attitude. This verse challenges us to consider our response to correction. Are we open to receiving guidance from others, especially those who genuinely care for our spiritual well-being? Embracing correction can lead to deeper insights and growth in our relationship with God. The dangers of injustice, verses 6 to 7, David's prayer takes a serious turn in verses 6 and 7, where he states, "When their judges are thrown over the cliff, then they shall hear my words, for they are pleasant." This imagery of judgment signifies the consequences faced by those who persist in wickedness. David's words serve as a reminder that justice will ultimately prevail. The reference to judges being thrown over a cliff symbolizes divine retribution against corrupt authorities. David's assurance that they will hear his words suggests that righteousness will be vindicated in the end. It also highlights the significance of speaking truth in the face of injustice. Even when it seems that evil reigns, we can trust that God sees and knows all. David's assertion, "Yet my prayer is continually against their evil deeds," underscores his commitment to seeking justice. He remains steadfast in his resolve to oppose wickedness, even while acknowledging his own vulnerabilities. This commitment to prayer as a response to injustice illustrates the power of intercession and the importance of seeking God's intervention in our lives and communities. As believers, we are called to be agents of justice and truth in a world often characterized by moral ambiguity. By praying against evil and standing for righteousness, we align ourselves with God's will and purpose for our lives. The focus of our hope, verse 8, "But my eyes are toward you, O God, my Lord, in you I seek refuge, leave me not defenseless." In this pivotal moment, David expresses his unwavering trust in God. His eyes being toward you signifies a focused reliance on God as his source of strength and protection. In a world filled with uncertainty, finding refuge in God offers peace and security. David's plea, "Leave me not defenseless," reflects a profound understanding of his vulnerability apart from divine protection. This awareness invites us to recognize our dependence on God for guidance and strength in our spiritual journey. The call to seek refuge in God is particularly relevant in times of distress and turmoil. Just as a child seeks safety in a parent's arms, we can find solace and strength in God's presence. This verse encourages us to cultivate a posture of trust and reliance on God, especially in moments when we feel overwhelmed or threatened. Spiritual warfare, verses 9 to 10, David concludes his prayer with a vivid depiction of the trap set by evildoers. "Keep me from the trap that they have laid for me and from the snares of evildoers. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I pass by safely." This imagery serves as a powerful reminder of the schemes that the enemy employs to ensnare us. The request for protection from traps highlights the reality of spiritual warfare. As believers, we must remain vigilant against the subtle temptations that can lead us away from God. The enemy is cunning, often disguising traps as attractive or harmless. David's plea invites us to recognize our need for divine guidance in discerning and avoiding such snares. The concluding affirmation, "Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I pass by safely," reflects a profound trust in God's justice. David understands that the wicked will ultimately face the consequences of their actions. In seeking refuge in God, we can rest assured that He will protect us and bring about justice in His perfect timing. Conclusion: Psalm 141 encapsulates a heartfelt plea for spiritual protection, vigilance, and the importance of remaining steadfast in our commitment to righteousness. David's prayer serves as a guide for us as we navigate the complexities of life, reminding us to call upon God for help, guard our speech and hearts, and seek refuge in Him. In a world that often glorifies evil and compromise, we are called to be vigilant in our pursuit of holiness. By leaning on God's strength, embracing correction, and remaining prayerful, we can navigate life's challenges with grace and integrity. As we reflect on Psalm 141, let us commit ourselves to a life of prayer and vigilance. May we continuously seek God's protection, remain aware of the influences around us, and find comfort in the hope that comes from trusting in Him.